What's up, everybody? I'm Flash. This is One Man's Opinion, the show where we cover just about everything, and today we are covering Cobra Kai Season 5, and I am pumped to talk about it, so let's dive right into this one. Before we get into this one, though, if you're a fan of horror video games or the horror genre in general, head on over and watch a little bit of my Mortuary Assistant gameplay when you get the time. They're longer videos. Watch them 10-15 minutes at a time. You're going to love it. Watch me get scared to death. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool game. It's 25 bucks on Steam. I recommend it if you're into like scaring yourself to death. But if nothing else, you should be able to get a few laughs out of it. The first one's pretty long. The second one's not as long. That second one really has some wild stuff take place. But you need the story of the first one. So give them both a watch. Let me know what you think. Also coming down the pipeline, we got more reactions coming at you, more reviews. I'm gearing up for a big Halloween review session already. Getting ready for Halloween. We're going to have reviews coming in all the time. Crazy stuff coming. I don't want to spoil one of the things I'm going to be doing for Halloween just yet, but just know there's going to be some cool stuff in Halloween. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon. That way you're notified when my videos come out. You can see what it is. Click on it if you're interested. And let's get that out of the way and get into this Cobra Kai. So I am actually really excited about this season of Cobra Kai. I went into it with high hopes coming off the back of Season 4. I thought Season 4 picked it up really well after Season 3. Terry Silver is an amazing villain and continues to be so throughout Season 5. I think he is the strongest villain we've seen in the series. He's without a doubt the strongest villain that they have, and they have done phenomenally with him, with his story, and with him as a villain. They've made him a serious presence. He can hang with any of them as far as fighting goes. He's very intelligent. He has money and resources. He can back everything up with that money, with those resources. And so he's a real threat to Johnny, to Daniel. Specifically to Daniel. Johnny has a lot going on in this season. Some things I wanted to talk about real quick. The first thing I want to do is shout out who I think is the character of the season, the standout of the season. In the past, I've often talked about Johnny and Miguel and how much I love their dynamic, how much I love those two together on screen. And in the past, if I were to go back and kind of offer this award that I haven't really offered in the past for the show-stopping performance, whoever really had the standout season, a lot of that would have gone to Johnny and Miguel, probably to Hawk in the last season, possibly. Also, I think Tori has come a long way in the last couple seasons as well. Her character has really grown on me more and more as the show has gone on. But this season, the standout above and beyond the rest was chosen. 100%. The actor was phenomenal. The actor's name is Yuji Okamoto. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I hope I am. But he is phenomenal. Let me tell you, from start to finish, absolutely, this man 100% steals the show. His comedic timing is beautiful. His acting is phenomenal.
But I'm ready for him this time, and I can be dangerous too.
Daniel-san told me how dangerous you can be.
Did he mention how I kicked his ass back in high school?
I robbed him while he was on date.
Oh, yeah? I pushed him down a cliff.
I fight him to death.
Oh, yeah? What are you, a ghost or something?
And the man's martial arts looks really good. Off the back of talking about Chosen a little bit, the martial arts itself, I felt like looked better this season. Less cuts. The punches, the kicks, they seemed to hit a little harder. It seemed a little bit more realistic, like there was a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more of a desperation in a lot of the fights this season, minus the chick fight that happened in a bar. That whole thing was pretty cringy, I'm not gonna lie.
Unless you've got a bat hiding behind that bony butt of yours.
I don't need a bat for you, tramp stamp.
I understand why you needed it for the story to kind of work your way out of the drama that had built up between Daniel and his wife, but essentially that was the worst part of the season for me. It was just pushing, right? It was just pushing in a bar fight. It was pretty awful. Sam got a kick in, I guess. but I guess you needed it for storytelling. And now that I've touched on how great the martial arts, how great the action was, I can go into that storytelling a little bit. And I thought this season continued last season's trend of improving on the writing and storytelling aspect of this series. In my opinion, I think that they are really working up the ladder. They are really getting better every single season. Since season 3, I feel like they've been improving quite a bit. On the storytelling, there's much less manufactured drama. All of the drama now seems to be coming from a more real place, a place that's a little bit more grounded in reality. Now, granted, a lot of the things that happen in the show aren't grounded in reality. A lot of the ways that, they blow it out of proportion about how serious these things are, and then even to go so far as to have karate dojo masters attempting to kill each other at one of them's house. I mean, it really gets blown out of proportion with some of the action in this, but I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. What I'm saying is the drama of the show felt more earned this season, whereas in the past seasons, you had that sort of what I call CW drama, which is where you have characters who have drama between them that could be easily solved by just like a simple conversation, where, a character will overhear part of a conversation and then they'll like confront somebody and they'll be like, I can't believe you said that about me. And then the other person tries to explain, well, actually what I meant was, and then they're just like, save it, I don't want to hear it. And they turn and walk off. And then the other character just stands and watches like,
Danny, no, don't walk away. Danny, don't walk away from me.
It's too late, Seth. I've already walked away too much.
No, you haven't. You could still come back and just fucking turn around and come back and help me.
That thing that never happens in real life, because in real life, if that happened, you would like go after them and be like, hey, wait, no, seriously, what actually happened was, and you would explain it like an adult and they would listen, that's how it would work in real life. But so often in that CW drama, you get those people who just exit stage left, and it's like, if only there was something I could have said to have changed the outcome, and now we will have this drama between these characters for 2 seasons, like that happens so often in TV shows. But I feel like they've done away with most of that. Everything in this one seemed really earned. It was good to see Johnny playing that peacemaker role, trying to make peace between Miguel and Robbie. And so, yeah, I liked seeing all of that. Miguel and Johnny don't have as much screen time alone this season. They don't have very much at all. And so I did miss that aspect of it a little bit, but I appreciate where they're going with Johnny's arc and that they're continuing to find a meaningful role for him, and that the story continues to grow in his favor a little bit, as he's you would think that he had kind of topped out at becoming a sensei, but now he's becoming a better father. Now he's becoming a better man, and he continues to make that improvement every single season. And so I don't mind that you had to sacrifice a little bit of that Johnny Miguel dynamic to get Johnny to a better place, like as a person. And he's really growing, and I love that he's having a kid now. I think it's going to be a girl. If I was to bet the house, I bet he has a girl, because he already pretty much has 2 sons now between Robbie and Miguel. He basically has 2 sons, and I think if they're going to continue with this story well into the future, it would be interesting to see how Johnny handles raising a girl after always being sort of this macho alpha male type, mindset that he has. How is he going to raise a girl now? So I think that's more interesting storytelling. That's just my prediction for where they go with it if this show continues, further into the future, even if there's a time jump somewhere or something like that somewhere in the future. Having said that, I appreciate that they've squashed a lot of the beef between like Tori and Sam, and between Miguel and Robbie, and everyone's kind of coming together and getting on the same page. That being a strength of the show, seeing all of these characters finally getting on the same page, is also home to the greatest weakness of where the show is now. While you do have one of the greatest villains, legitimately one of my favorite villains in Terry Silver, he's kind of the villain for the adults a little bit, right? He's kind of Daniel's villain more than anything. A little bit of Johnny's villain, sure. Chosen getting kind of wrangled into it. They all have their own reasons to not like him by the end of the season. Some of them have reasons from, years prior. But they all have a good reason not to like Terry Silver, and Terry Silver is a fantastic villain. Where I think the show lost ground a little bit by getting everyone on the same page, they didn't have anyone ready to fill the shoes as the villain for the teenagers. What I mean by that is, in the past, we've always kind of had everyone on the wrong page with each other, right? There was always a reason to have drama between Tori and Sam, to have drama between Miguel and Robbie, or even Miguel and Hawk and Dimitri. Like, there was always this drama, and there was reason for them to be on separate teams and to fight each other when tournament time came, or outside of a tournament or whatever. There was always reason for that conflict. Now, everyone's on the same page, and that's great, but they didn't do a good job in past seasons having someone there to really feel the role. You had that group of bullies, but like, they were never taken seriously as threats after everyone kind of learned karate, and they became more comic relief characters anyway. And so you're left with Kenny, who I think was a horrible choice as the sort of big bad for Cobra Kai. I think it was awful. And if for nothing else, I don't know how old this kid's supposed to be in the show. I know he's younger than Miguel and Robbie and all them. They're all like 17 years old, I would say. They're probably about seniors in high school at this point, I guess. But Kenny's what, like 14, maybe 15? Look, guys, there's a huge difference between, and I know I'm getting a little technical, and the show is not meant to be, you're not supposed to like really dive that deep into the show, but it does take you out of it a little bit when this 14-year-old is beating the crap out of Hawk, who's been doing this way longer, and like he's been training. Hawk has been training for way longer than Kenny at this point. Not to mention he's older, he's stronger, he's faster, he's taller, he's got the reach. There's a reason in boxing matches and MMA matches, along with the age of the competitor, the weight of the competitor, you also have the reach of the competitor, because in a fight, reach is really, really important. And you have this short, 14-year-old who's doing his best to come off as a villain out there, but it's just so hard to take him seriously because he should have never beaten Hawk. And you could tell they had to go that way. And they try to give him some secret weapon move that Terry gives him. What is it? The Quicksilver or the Silver Bullet or something like that. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, sure, even if you knew a way to hit someone just so perfect, and you could take them out of the fight for a little bit, sure. But you still have to be able to connect with that hit. And Hawk is a very seasoned vet. The dude's a champ. He's a seasoned vet at this point. And there's no way he's getting caught with a punch to the chest. Not that easily anyway. Not by a 14-year-old. I'm not saying that a 14-year-old couldn't beat a 17-year-old in any world ever. But the kid also, he had the same shot on Robbie too. And I understand Robbie was trying to be defensive, and he was trying to be hey man, you don't have to do this. And so he was off guard. But you can calmly, I have a little brother. It's pretty easy to calmly try to talk your way out of something when you don't want to hit someone younger, but you can still kind of defend yourself and fend them off a little bit. It's not like when he hit Robbie, they were even in a tournament setting anyway. Robbie could have just put him in a headlock and held him on the ground. The kid's not going to out-strength Robbie in a grappling match. And you don't have to be trained to wrestle at that level where you're wrestling a 14-year-old. All I'm saying is that Kenny is not a good villain. I think the actor's doing the best he can with the part. I think they kind of wrote themselves into a corner because they knew they had to get everybody back on the same page eventually, but they had a gap. There was no good way to bring in a credible threat for the kids. And I think that was one of the bigger misses of this season. One of the few misses, but one of the bigger misses of the season personally. I like that they brought back in Matt Barnes. It was really cool to see Barnes back in it. I liked his role. I hate that he didn't get to do a little more. I think we'll see more of him in season 6 as we move forward. But it was good to see him. It really was. And I appreciate that they didn't just throw him on the bad team. I appreciate that they kind of had, they kind of bob and weaved with that one a little bit, and they were you'd expect him to be picked up by Terry. Okay, now we've got Terry and Barnes back together. But I appreciate that they came back around with him and said, no, you know what, this guy's already doing a little bit better in his life. He's already moved on, and that sort of thing. And aside from Amanda's, getting very upset with Daniel about the Terry thing, she knew Terry was manipulating the situation. She knew that. I thought that was a little contrived, but I get it. You've got to have some drama in there. And so I'm not too upset with that. Mostly, I think my biggest gripe for the season is Kenny as the main villain for the teenage group. But Having said all that, everything else in this season was excellent. I think the camaraderie of the teenage group there, I say teenage group, I know the actors themselves are older than that, especially now. They're probably all in their early 20s, I would guess. But it seems like they're really coming together. Like, you can feel that that now, you know, they've been doing this for 5 seasons now. They have a good feel for each other. There's a lot of chemistry there between the actors and actresses. They do a really good job playing off one another for the most part, with a few exceptions. There's certain actors who I still think aren't doing the best job, or maybe they haven't come as far as others. But it's not anything that's like so bad that it's distracting from how good the show is. So not entirely worth mentioning. I think that's pretty much all I have as far as the breakdown. I could get into specifics and talk about specific scenes, specific moments that I really, really loved from the show this season, but that's not really what I'm wanting to do here. If you want to hear more like specifics and breakdowns about how I felt in certain moments and things like that, let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll do another video on this, but this one's running long. There is one more thing I want to say before I give my rating of this season. Well, you know what? I'll give the rating first, and then I'll say my last little bit, and this will be in regards to Season 6. But for Cobra Kai Season 5, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a step in the right direction. I think they are continuing to improve and do really, really well with this show. I'm giving Cobra Kai Season 5 a 96 overall. Darn near perfect season, though, with the exception of just a few things. Darn near perfect. Really, really well done. Okay, the last thing I want to touch on, if you want to stick around, is talking about Season 6 a little bit. And I believe it was when I did my Season 3 review. What's great about Cobra Kai is it's the one thing that I've been doing since I started the show, since I started the YouTube channel. So it's really cool to still be doing this. It's very special to me to be able to do the Cobra Kai stuff. It really has like a special place on the channel. The one thing that I did want to say is I think it was back in Season 3, I mentioned that I thought 2 seasons would be enough and that they didn't need to go much further than that. And then I believe after I did my Season 4 review, I said, okay, Season 4 was better. Maybe I could see them going 2 more seasons, but I certainly wouldn't want them to go much further than that. Having seen the end of Season 5, I stand by it. Terry is in handcuffs. Now, he could get out of it. He's got very good lawyers. They could have him out and back on the streets in no time, but he's going to have to build from the ground up. All the kids see how bad, he was, and so most of those kids are going to be going Miyagi-Do or Eagle Fang, whatever they end up calling it. And that's your best villain. And he's out of play for at least the next season. The next season, I imagine, is going to center around the World Tournament, the World Martial Arts Tournament. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that, but I think they could have stopped this season. I think this season could have been a perfect end. Even how they ended it. If there was not another season, I would be very, very happy. I still fear a repetitive nature that this show could easily get caught up in. I think the writers have been excellent. To their credit, they have been excellent not getting too caught up in it. But what do you have happen next season? I mean, and look, I haven't sat down, I haven't thought about it. Yeah, if I put my mind to it, if I put pen to paper, I might be able to come up with something creative. But next season, what you're going to have to do is, essentially, I imagine, you will set up for the World Martial Arts Tournament, and you'll have to have like a rival school at the tournament. You can find new teenage villains like we were talking about that way, and that'll be fine. You also have Terry, who's still out there, who will probably get out of prison at some point, and obviously Kreese is out and about now, but he's also going to be like a wanted man on the run, so I don't know how much he can do, because he could be arrested at any time. Realistically, how far can he get? But all I'm saying is I don't see them going back down the Terry Silver or Kreese route next season, because it's like, well, what was all that for then if Terry's just right back out and it's just a repeat? Because that's a problem. If you're just repeating the same thing over and over again, that's a problem. And I think Kreese will be a part of the show, but I can't see him being the main villain again. If you did, you would have to be very, very creative. I don't see where he might be able to talk to Tori, and swing her back, but that's hard to imagine now. She seems pretty fed up and done with him. I know he has regrets with Johnny, or at least I feel like that part of his moment with the psychiatrist, I feel like that part was real. But I don't know what Kreese can bring to the table realistically in that short of order to make him the villain for the next season. And so, you go to the World Martial Arts Tournament, and that's all well and good, and you do that, but then where do you go from there? And it becomes, okay, we've got to come up with, and the kids are getting older, they'll be going off to college, and so do you bring in a new generation? There's a lot of questions, and at some point, Johnny and Daniel, their arcs will be finished. Daniel only has so many old villains to pull from. There's only so much trauma from his childhood that you can re-drag up before it becomes repetitive. And so I'm not saying that there aren't ways. I'm not saying you couldn't write new villains in. I'm not saying you couldn't have all new people come in and have new challenges, new opportunities, and all that stuff. But, eventually Miguel and Robbie and them, they're either going to have to become senseis on their own, or I guess they could be in an adult class or something. I don't know. But I felt like, I'm not saying that there's not options. If they want to drag this thing out for 10 or 12 seasons, as long as the quality stays good, I'm fine with it. I just think you're getting into a dangerous territory where, yeah, there's still options, but you're in a dangerous territory where it would be easy to really mess things up. And I love this show, and I don't want to see it go on too long. So often good TV shows go too long. And I like to point to Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was an amazing TV show that ended at just the right time. And I would have loved 3 more seasons of Breaking Bad. Oh my goodness, I would have loved it. I think everyone would have. But they knew they had a good thing, and they knew when to turn it off, And that's the only thing I fear with Cobra Kai. As they continue to just, everyone who ever had anything to do with those old movies being brought into it, at some point it's, where do you go? What do you do next? And if we decide to stop going with the things from the past movies and we decide to forge our own path, a new path, where do you go from there? You have to write all new senseis, all new dojos, everything. Everything has to be new, has to be fresh, and there has to be a realistic reason for everyone to keep doing this, for everyone to keep fighting in karate tournaments, for everyone to keep training, and for everyone to keep doing it. Even though their lives are moving forward and they're all getting older, there has to be a good reason for them to keep living this way. And so I don't know. I just, tell me in the comments below. I've kept you way too long. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that this show should go past 6 seasons? How would you have felt if the show would have just ended there at 5? Would you have been okay with that? I know we all want to see more. I want to see more. But that ending would have been perfect. Terry in handcuffs, Kreese is out of jail. You don't really know what's going to become of him. Johnny's going to be a father. Everyone has quit Cobra Kai. It's kind of the perfect ending for a show that's called Cobra Kai. It's going to be bad to have a show called Cobra Kai in which there is no more Cobra Kai, which is the way that it's looking now. And so, anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. Let me know what you thought down below. Let me hear your thoughts, or where you think the story should end, whatever your thoughts are. If you disagreed with me, don't get mad about it. Remember, this is all just one man's opinion. Thank you all so much.